Hi folks, so question 2 then is about probability. So we just have to fill in this little two-way or this little table with the sample space to start off with. So uh, Maeve's team play a match and they can win, draw or lose. So uh, this possibility here then, so there's two matches. So she can win the first one and then win the second one. So that's one possibility. The second one is already put in for you here. It's that she wins the first one and draws the second one. Then that she wins the first one, loses the second one. And then this is if she draws the first one and wins the second one. This is if she draws the first one and draws the second one. And then this is if she draws the first one and loses the second one. Then this is if she loses the first one and wins the second one. This is if she loses the first one and draws the second one. And this is if she loses the first one and loses the second one, so she loses both. So that's all you have to do for part A, is just fill in those. Maeve thinks that each outcome in the table is equally likely. So based on this, find the probability that when Maeve's team play two matches, they win at least one match. So what we have to do here is we have to see how many of them are where she wins at least one match. And then we're going to put that over the total number of possibilities. The total number of possibilities in this would be 9, because there's 9 different possibilities of what can happen when she plays two matches. So the first one, does she win at least one match there? Well, she definitely does, because she wins both of them. So winning both of them is definitely at least winning one. Here, she wins at least one as well. So anywhere you see a W, we're going to put a tick. W in there. Now, she doesn't win either match there, so she doesn't win at least one. In that middle one, she draws both of them, so that doesn't count. She doesn't here either. Here she does win at least one match. Here she doesn't again, so there's no W's, and there's no W's here. She loses both of them. So if you count them up there, then you get 5. So there's 5 different ways you can get what you want, what she wants here, which is to win at least one. So there's 5 out of 9. So 5 out of 9 or 5 over 9. And give your answer as a fraction. So we've given 5 over 9 is a fraction. Maeve's team play 5 matches in a competition. Work out the total number of different possible outcomes for Maeve's team for these 5 matches. So one possibility would be, so I'm going to draw this out fully, but just to give you an idea, the first match she could win, draw, or lose. So she could do one of those 3. So that's the first match. If she won the first match, there would be 3 possibilities for that. So there would be win, draw, or lose. If she drew the first match, she could win, draw, or lose. And if she loses the first match, she could win, draw, or lose again. So then if you go on again then and you draw 3 more out of each one of those. So if she wins the first match, wins the second match, then she could win, draw, or lose again. So you kind of see what's happening here then, and then you do, obviously I don't have space then, but you do the same for this and the same for this, and then you keep going. So there's 3 out of each of these again, and then you could go on, you'd have to go on again, and then you'd have to go on once more, because there's 5 different games. So she could win, 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 lose, win, 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 draw. So we should see that's kind of happening here is you're multiplying each of them by 3 each time. So when it goes to the next match, there's 3 different possibilities again. So what you have to end up doing is you have to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So if you were to draw out that diagram completely, you'd get this many kind of different possibilities at the end. So 3, that's just 3 to the power 5 really. So we're getting, if you put that in your calculator, you're getting 243. 243 different possibilities. So that's question 2. Actually, there's another question here as well I didn't see. Oh, there's another two sections actually. Another two questions. So, Maeve's team plays 11 matches in a league. The table below shows the number of goals that Maeve's team score in each of these 11 matches. Work out the mean number of goals that a team score per match. So, this is simple enough. They're just testing you on if you know what the mean is and how to calculate it. So, what you have to do is you have to add up all the numbers and divide by the number of numbers or the amount of numbers. So, you have to do 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 0, which isn't going to mean anything really, plus 2, plus 7, plus 1, plus 0 again, plus 2, plus 1, plus 3. So you add them all up, and when you add them all up, you get 21. And then you're going to divide that by the number of numbers. So the number of numbers is 11 because there's 11 matches. Then you're going to get decimal then, obviously, because 11 doesn't go into 21. So we're getting 1.9 when we round it off. So we're getting 1.909090 and so on. So 1.9. So that's it then. You don't have to do any more. So what that means is that on average, the team scored 1.9 goals in every game. So they scored nearly 2 goals in every game, around about that. Complete the pie chart then below to summarize the data above, showing the proportion of their games in which Maeve's team scored 0 goals, 1 goal, and so on. So a little bit of work to do here then. So goals. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now you'll notice back in the table here that they actually score 7 goals in one of the games. So that's a bit of an outlier there. That's kind of a freak result maybe, or one that's not usual with the rest of them. So we have to go all the way up to 7. So in all of the games, they scored one of those numbers. Either scored 0 goals, 1 goal, 2 goal, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 goals in all of the games. Now, some games they didn't score any of these particular ones, but let's just count up anyway. How many games they scored 0 goals in? So you'll see there's 2 zeros. So they scored 0 in 2 games. Then they scored 1 goal in actually 4 different games. They scored 2 goals in 2 games. So they scored 2 goals in 2 different games. Then they scored 3 goals in 2 different games as well. They scored 4 goals in none of the games. So there wasn't any of the games that they scored 4 goals in. They scored 5 goals in 0 games as well. They scored 6 goals in 0 games. And then there was that one game then that they scored the 7 goals in. So we're going to draw the pie chart with this then, with this information. So when you're drawing a pie chart, you need to work out the angle obviously first. So way of doing this is you're going to put the number over, for each one you're going to put the number over the total frequency, and then you're going to multiply it by 360. So for 0 goals, there was 2. So we can add up the frequency here anyway. So frequency is the number of games. So it's going to be 11. We know from before. So when we add all those up, we get 11. So I'm going to take, so the number of games where they scored 0 goals. I'm going to put 2 over 11, and then I'm going to times it by 360. Because 2 out of the 11 games is when they scored 0 goals, and I'm going to multiply that by 360 because there's 360 degrees in a circle, and then that's going to tell me what my angle is. So I'm getting 65.45, so about 65%. So when you're drawing this onto the diagram, then I can't show you here, but you're going to use a protractor to measure the angle. Now, 65%, it's a kind of 2/3 of, say, so if it was 90%, you'd have to draw it across there like that. So 65 will be around, I'm going kind of roughly here, but that would be 0 goals. And then the next one would be for 1 goal. So we've done 0 goals now, so 1 goal was 4 games out of 11. So 4 out of 11, and then we times it by 360. And that's going to give us our number of degrees again. I'm getting 130.9 there, so about 131 degrees. So 131 then is a good chunk of the circle, so it's well past the 90, obviously. So we'll go about, so you'd have to measure then with your protractor, obviously, in the exam, but we'll go about there. So that was 65. So that's 1 goal then. Now, the next one then would be for 2 goals. So what you should notice here is that you've already worked out the angle for 2 goals really, because it's going to be the same as for 0 goals. So for 0 goals, it was also 2 out of 11. So we're going to do 2 over 11 times by 360, and then we know that it's going to give us 65% again. Sorry, or 65 degrees. Sorry, I used the first one and I by mistake. So it's going to give us an angle of 65 degrees, so it's going to be the same angle basically as the first one. And then 3 goals is going to be the same thing again, because 3 goals were scored in 2 different games. So 2 out of 11 again, times by 360. It's going to give us 65%, or 65 degrees. So that's going to be the same angle again. So this was 2 goals. And 3 goals would be, I probably didn't draw that big enough. The last one then, so we don't need to draw them in. We don't need to draw in anything then for 4 goals, 5 goals, or 6 goals, because each of those can happen in any game. So we don't have to put it on the pie chart. The last one then is 7 goals were scored 1 out of 11 times. So we do 1 over 11 times by 360. And that gives us about 33%. So what you should end up happening then is that about 33% or 33 degrees is left in there. So 7 goals. And it's degrees. I know I said by mistake a few times there. So 33 degrees. So you take the frequency, whatever it is, and you put it over the total, and then you times it by 360. That works out the angle that you put the pie chart, and then you have to use your protractor, obviously, to measure out the angle in the pie chart. Be careful and spend a bit of time on it again, because if you're rough or you're not careful, or if your angles are too far out, when you draw them in, you'll lose some marks.